believe we're in August, of course, highlighting Women's Month as we approach Women's Day. And today's topic is quite interesting because studies have shown that while body dissatisfaction is a common occurrence for most people, women are more likely to struggle with it than men. Now, this can lead to psychological and emotional problems as well as a decrease in satisfaction from intimacy.
Yeah, very pertinent topic right now this morning, and I'm going to be listening to quite pertinently at the start of Women's Month, of course. We're asking the question, how in touch do you feel with your body as a woman? Now, clinical psychologist Asha Dullabh, the specialist, is here today to help us discuss this. And we're taking your questions and comments via our Facebook page too, so come through with the questions. We'd love to engage with you. But firstly, Asha, good morning. How are you doing on this Monday?
Good morning, I'm doing well.
Second part of our conversation. I know I've asked you this before, but just to reiterate the fact that we are changing the theme, and I think this is something important. Even me, myself, working with clients in the industry, I noticed this to be such a dramatic thing. It's such an important topic we're discussing, and it has such an impact on women of all shapes and sizes, no matter how confident or how beautiful you are, and you all are absolutely beautiful. It has such a dramatic impact on us. So I'm loving the fact that we get to talk about this. Society's bringing it up. It's in our communities. Why is this so important from your perspective, though?
It's very important because for decades, women have challenges with their body image, and it obviously goes right back to childhood and how we've been so conditioned and socialized to think about our bodies, the stories that we've heard, what we've seen about our bodies, and that pulls right through our whole life. And of course, we set a standard for ourselves, and when that standard is not met in terms of societal norms and expectations, we start then shaming ourselves, judging ourselves, and then it becomes a cycle where we just can't seem to get out.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at this as a little bit of a domino effect. So I wanted to know from you, Asha, like how we view or how comfortable we are with our bodies, how does that translate to how we view our sensuality, which then, how does that affect our intimacy?
All very much interrelated. So think about our sensuality. I think we need to really understand what that is, because sensuality is really getting in touch with our senses in order to gain a greater sense of awareness so that we can connect more mindfully, intimately, and with our sexuality as well. So, and intimacy is not just physical intimacy, it's intimacy on all the different senses. So it's the five senses, but also the sixth sense of our intuition and the energy sense, the blend between two individuals when they connect intimately. So we need to get in touch with our bodies. I think women specifically need to really educate themselves about their bodies and cherish their bodies, accept their bodies, love their bodies, get to really understand and nurture the bodies to heighten that sensuality. Because you need to have the sensuality to feel the intimacy on all levels.
And that little inner voice is so important. I think we don't realize how harmful we are to ourselves. Like, you know, I can stand in front of the mirror and criticize my body for how it looks in the jeans, and that all filters through and it affects you on such a greater level.
Yes, definitely. The internal critic in our mind is the biggest downfall to women. It's our brains and our minds, ourself, that actually limit our self-esteem, our self-worth, and we go into the cycle where we have a diminished self-confidence. And it repeats ourselves in all our kind of relationships with people. We compare ourselves to other women, to other people, and this is where it all starts, where it becomes quite, it affects our psychological and overall well-being.
Look, from the guy's perspective, I definitely want to carry on with this conversation because there's a few things I do think I can relate to, especially when it comes to intimacy, especially when it comes to being able to open yourself up. I definitely want to touch on this a little bit later. We won't be ending this right now. We are going to be touching on more of this in a moment. So Asha Dullabh is here to discuss all of this and this topic, and of course come through on our Facebook and social media channels too, where we can be answering your questions, and we will be carrying on this discussion. An important one on intimacy, an important one on women and their bodies. See you soon.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, you know what? On Mondays, we talk relationships, and this morning is no different because we're asking you the question, how in touch do you feel with your body as a woman? Now, we are back with clinical psychologist Asha Dullabh to unpack this topic. So please do weigh in with your questions and your comments on our Facebook page. And I think, you know what, earlier we did touch on this a little bit, that there's often a disconnect when you don't view, if you're not as comfortable with your body. There's a disconnect between your sensuality, and often that also leads to not getting the intimacy you want within your relationship, which sometimes then leads to you seeking that elsewhere, generally from a stranger. Asha, how dangerous is this type of behavior, to seek that intimacy elsewhere?
It is dangerous because you can get into a destructive pattern, and when you get into that pattern of seeking it outside, there's total disconnect because you're not even disconnecting with your own sense of self. So there you're going into to connect with a stranger, and then you can actually leave that feeling quite used. You feel shamed. You get into a moralistic dilemma of what's right, what's wrong, and the standards that we've set for ourselves. So it is quite dangerous, and many people do find themselves in that pattern if they start that and they're not doing it from a point of awareness.
Maybe if I can make this a little bit more practical, because I like to take something away, especially from the guy's component as well. Speaking about intimacy as it is, what is it that women are actually wanting when it comes to intimacy? Because we have our own insecurities as men as well, and apart from the things that we worry about, I'm pretty sure, and I know for a fact, one of them is, are we satisfying our partner? Are we enough? Are we giving them what they need? And I think one of those questions is, are we being able to satisfy them intimately as well? What is it that we should be looking for, or what is it that we should be maybe more aware of when it comes to adhering to that, or getting that goal and the box ticked?
I think every human being, and more so probably human, we want to feel cherished. We want to feel sort of acknowledged, and we want to feel that desire and that feeling of being wanted and that passion. And I think that's what I see quite often in my practice, where women come in and they are not feeling that need to be cherished and desired. And this is what happens, where they will try and seek out that in any aspect of, if not in their relationship, they'll try and seek it out elsewhere. So I think it's about, again, being aware of yourself and knowing yourself, understanding all your senses, how you take in from all your life experiences in order to connect intimately.
And of course, listen, be kind to yourself. That little voice in your
Yes.
head is very important, to be kind. Asha, thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, stay up to date with Asha Dullabh. You can follow her on Instagram at Asha Dullabh. And of course, she joined us today for our very important topic. And I think for the whole month of August, we will be tackling female-driven conversations. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you do have those questions, you can always head on over to our Expresso Facebook page.